Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the City of Buckhannon Wastewater Treatment Plant. It's me, Rick Edwards, the Mayor of Buckhannon, with you again. We wanted to give you a tour as citizens of your wastewater or sewage plant. I'm very happy to have with me Buck Samples, who is the sanitary plant maintenance supervisor for the City of Buckhannon and our sanitary plant. We're going to go together throughout this tour, and Buck is going to give us an idea of exactly how the plant works, how long we've been here, some of the ways in which we treat the sewage that you produce, comes through here and ends up back in our river. We hope that this is very informative. We have been discussing a rate increase, and we want to make sure the citizens understand how well this place is already maintained, but how this rate increase is really important for the citizens to continually, over the years and throughout the upcoming years, to continue to produce the great system and maintain it as we have already. Buck, how long have you been with the City of Buckhannon at the sanitary plant?
38 years.
38 years. So that almost put you here at the beginning of it. When was it built?
It was built in 1987.
1987. That was a good year. I remember the 80s. So you were you the maintenance supervisor at that point, or were you just beginning into the system as a regular?
Well, actually, when we came to the new plant, I was just a regular employee. We had the old plant. I worked there for 10 years before coming here.
I see. And how long have you been the plant maintenance supervisor?
Oh, probably going on 20 years. 20
years. Well, we're really glad to have you along with us. We're going to be letting our citizens know how the plant process works, step by step. And then while we're doing that, I also want you to give us an idea of how from in-house. In other words, we do our own maintenance, we do a lot of our own projects, and I'd like you to point out some of those projects that we've done, and perhaps maybe the savings that we had done had we not done it that way through contracting. Okay. So I tell you what, let's begin at the process. We're here at the sign at the entrance. Let's talk about where all of this sewage or the waste comes into the plant. How about we move that way?
Okay. We have about 65 miles of sewer line in Buckhannon. Wow. We have about 2 miles of force main in Buckhannon. The 65 miles all comes through 2 pump stations, which would be a Last Street pump station and Vicksburg pump station. Gotcha. We have a yearly, daily, annual flow of about 1.3, 1.4 MGD.
Okay, MGD, for those who don't know?
Million gallons per day.
Million gallons per day. So that is a lot of water or waste that's coming through. Let me ask you this. Now, not only do you get the wastewater, but do you get storm water that comes through as well?
We probably do get a little bit, but we try not to get any.
Okay.
We are working all the time trying to get the storm water, the inflow, all of that out of our sanitary sewers.
That's great. All right, so we'll see some of the ways through as we go through how that works and all of that. So why don't we go ahead and let's go to the first station, the first pump, I believe, that comes through. Okay. And then we'll walk through the rest of the process. How's that sound? So Buck, before we get to the pump that brings in all of our wastewater, tell us a little bit about the property and how large a facility we have here.
I believe inside the fence here there's like 10 acres. This plant was designed very well. We are set up that we can have another clarifier over in this area, already set up to do that, and we can add another ditch over in that area. The plant was actually set up so we could make it bigger at any time.
I see, and we're going to learn a little bit more about a clarifier here in a little bit.
Okay.
Because there's going to be a lot of citizens who don't know what a clarifier is. They know what clarifying might be, but not what a clarifier is. Let me ask you this as well then. Is this a normal size plant for our size city? Is this large, small?
Actually, this plant is a 2.5 MGD plant, million gallons per day plant.
Understood.
Okay, our normal flow is about 1.3 MGD.
Okay.
So we could actually take about twice the amount of flow to this plant than what we're getting right now.
And then if at some point we even increase more, as you mentioned a minute ago, we still have room to be able to expand a little bit more if we had to, without having to build a whole brand new facility.
Absolutely. That's
key here, folks, citizens, that we have the capacity, not only right now of only half of what could be brought through this plant, But in the future, unlike some other municipalities, we may not have to build a brand new facility to facilitate any growth or improvements in our city. That's really important to understand, and why maintenance, after 30 some odd years here, that the work that they do with the maintenance and in-house work saves the city of Buckhannon. How much is a brand new facility that you've heard of for a wastewater treatment plant?
I don't know the number, but I do know that this plant was about $13 million in 1987.
Well, from what I understand from other cities that I've heard, we're looking at $30 million now to build a new facility. So, you know, from just savings in-house and maintaining saves a whole lot of money that'll be in the future. We won't have to invest, hopefully.
Well, a lot of our neighboring sewer plants, Elkins, and all these places have spent major money, and we've been able to do most of our upgrades within our budget. So we are not just stacking up debt all the time.
Well, and you bring up a good point then, because let's talk about the diversity of the employees that we have at the sanitary plant. For instance, I know you do a lot of the electrical work.
Yes.
Besides the maintaining of the plant, you're really key on setting up some of the things we'll see here in a little bit of the electrical connections and all that. But we're also looking at facilities that we've built, like this building behind us, the Pista Grit, and we're going to be looking at a belt press that you've converted an old building into something. And it took a lot of the skills from not only just the sanitary department, but I believe other departments helped in that. Am I correct?
Not too much, but I will say that the people that work in this department are amazing at their abilities to do things.
Right.
About everything they do, our guys cares. They have taken ownership in this place, and when you get someone that really cares, you have an engineer on board.
Yes. Mr. Sam Ludlow.
It is a very nice setup.
And Mr. Ludlow, and he's busy right now, but he's been been here since the beginning of this plant as well. Am I correct?
Well, he came a couple years maybe after we went into operation. But Sam helped design this plant.
That's what I was going to say, because I believe he helped design and engineer this plant, so he knew it before he even came.
And then he came to work for us, and now he has raised this plant.
Yes, yes. And he's still with us. He's on here as a part-time basis, but it doesn't get any more expert than Mr. Sam Ludlow. All right, so let's move on to where exactly the water comes in, and we'll go through the process of the waste. How's that sound?
Very good. This is our influent at the sewer plant. The water comes in here at 99.9% just water.
Okay.
With 0.1% solids.
Okay. So we've mixed up, we've kind of diluted, so to speak, the wastewater that's coming from the houses, from your residents, from your businesses, and we've taken some of the water. Where's the effluent water coming from? Is that from our river?
I beg your pardon?
Where's the mixing water, the majority of the water coming from, the 99 point whatever percent?
Okay, that's just coming from the houses and the businesses that are in the city of Buckhannon and Kennerton.
So technically this is raw sewage with a large dilution.
That is correct.
All right. Tell me why I'm not smelling it.
Well, if you are right dead in the middle of the summer, where our flow is very low, we have 2 miles of force main.
Okay.
Okay, when the water is moving a lot slower through our force main, well, then the oxygen will go out of the water.
I see. All right.
Okay. With us having a little bit of rain, a little bit of inflow, the water smells very good. This is the worst place at this plant, and you can see what it smells like today.
I don't really smell anything. It almost smells like the water treatment plant when the raw water comes in before it gets processed and treated through.
Right.
So that's pretty amazing stuff right there to think of that. So we're talking about a chemical process that's happening here with dilution and with oxygen and it's a natural process at this point. All right.
What this plant right here will do, it'll do the same thing that the river would do. God made the river to clean up everything. Yeah. There'll be algae and stuff growing in the bottom of the river, and the solids will attach to that. And anytime it goes over a rock or anything in the river, it'll add DO to the sewage.
That's right.
And other than it messing up your river, and it takes forever to clean, to do that, that's why we have a sewage treatment plant. It does the exact same thing that the river does, but it does it a lot quicker.
And you said DO, and I know what that means, dissolved oxygen.
Correct.
Absolutely. All right, so it comes in here, And I see we have a pump or a mixer behind us. Is that what this is doing?
What this right here is doing, this is nothing more than a paddle wheel. When the water comes in here,
right,
it'll come in at a fast or a slower rate than we want it to.
Okay.
We slow it down to somewhere between 2 foot per second.
Really? Okay.
Okay. When you slow your water down, it gives your solids, your inorganics, which is eggshells, it is sand, it is gravel, it is anything that will settle. It gives it time to settle into a hopper down here.
I see.
And then I'll show you where that goes in just a little bit.
All right. So yeah, and it's not unlike, and again, I'm saying this because those of you that watch the water treatment plant, it's a lot like that process at the beginning where all of the solids with the chemical you learned about gets dropped and connects to each other, and then the weight brings it down to the bottom as a natural process. And that's how, at another step, we end up with the solids that we'll be talking about.
Yes, we are using no chemicals right at this point. We actually don't hardly use anything at this plant at all except for polymer.
Polymer. All right, and tell us, what is a polymer?
It's a flocculant, and what it does, it separates the solids from the water so the water can drain out and you can do what you want with the solids.
Excellent. All right. Well, I'm amazed. I'm standing here, folks, and I am not smelling anything, and I know at certain times of the year, during the hottest part of the summer, you may get some, but it's not what you would think when you're at a sanitary plant, and that just amazes me that that is the case. So once it's coming here, you slow down the water. Where's it heading now? Is it heading down this snake of stuff?
It is going right through that par-shell flume right here.
Okay.
And a par-shell flume is a flow measurement device. It has got an ultrasonic sensor right there that measures the height, and with the par-shell flume, it raises the water level.
Okay.
So that that sensor right there can pick up the depth, and that'll give you your flow rate.
I see. Now, this instrument that you're talking about, the par-shell, what?
Par-shell flume.
Par-shell flume. Where is it being monitored at? Is it in our big building
We
we'll
can
talk
monitor
about?
right here beside of the building, and we have a flow chart inside our.
Gotcha. So that's how you monitor it any time, and then if there's an issue or for some reason, this will send off an alarm, or you'll be able to track.
Okay, this is a chart. It does not send off an alarm, but as operators, every time we walk by, we look at it.
You look at it to make sure.
And at our pump stations, at all of our major pump stations, we have automatic dialing systems. So if we, for any reason, would get a high level alarm, well then
we get a beep or a call or whatever.
We get a call at the sewer plant first, and then it calls random people want to call that.
Now I noticed when we're talking about this instrument, and you were talking about the flow that you're getting with this paddle wheel coming through here. I noticed these two brown or the inserts. That's actually going to increase the flow when that happens, right?
Well, it raises it. It doesn't increase it, but it raises it.
And so it comes up to a certain level. All right.
And then by the amount of inches that's in there, that will give you, whatever happens to be at the end of the day in million gallons per day.
All right, so what's happening down here at the end then? Let's take a look at that. So now that you just come through here, through your paddle wheel, you got the flow coming through. And folks, and this is really still untreated, correct? This is just the water.
This is totally raw sewage.
And I'll be honest with you, now I do catch a little bit of a smell, but it's not, what you would think of. Like my bathroom smells a lot worse at times than this does.
This is earthy, an earthy smell.
An earthy smell, yeah, I'll give you that.
Okay, the water drops out of here and goes to our splitter box.
Okay.
And we will go to there.
All right, let's head that way then.
Okay, here we are at our splitter box.
Okay. There. Schlitter box?
Splitter.
Splitter box.
S-P-L-I-T-T-E-R.
Okay, let's not get it's not the kind of box you're thinking of, folks. Okay, splitter box, and I see why, because you've got two things happening here, right?
Yes, that is correct. And what goes off of this side goes into that ditch, and what goes off of this side goes into that ditch. This right here is our raw sewage headed into our biological process. And what you see on the other side, that is our return activated sludge.
Okay, and where's that coming from?
That is coming from the clarifiers returning back into the ditches.
So you're almost recycling?
Oh yes. We return 95 to 98% of our mixed liquor from our clarifiers back into our ditches every day.
So it's almost a two-step process. You're going through it once, and then it comes back through again to help with the other.
And it will.
Any new.
And it will go through again and again
and again and again. So it's a continuing cycle.
We actually have about a 30 to somewhere between 30 and 60 days sludge age on this stuff that is in our ditches, our biological process.
That's quite a long process then. I understand the process of, we're trying to make it sound simple, but it's time consuming to clean the water that all of this is and continuing to recycle it to get it out to the end product at the river?
Absolutely.
All right, that makes total sense. So now you split it up and you're now, I kind of think of this as a recycling. I mean, you're continually going through, bringing it out, mixing, continuing going through, bringing it out, mixing. So when it goes here, where's it going next?
It goes right into the 2 ditches. We're putting it right into our biological process.
Okay.
Both the return and the raw sewage.
All right, let's take a look at your ditches then. Before we get over, too much noise. So this has now gone from there into here, and I see it cycling through. I mean, it looks like it's continually rotating.
Yeah, it makes a circle and drops off the weirs. If we bring in 1.3 million gallons per day, then we also discharge 1.3 million gallons per day.
Is that right? Okay.
But water, not our mixed liquor.
All right, mixed liquor. Now, we're not talking any kind of special liquor. When you say liquor, define what that means exactly. It's just a liquid?
Okay, mixed liquor is microorganisms that we grow here.
Okay.
Our main job right here at this sewer plant is to keep our bugs happy, our microorganisms.
Right, okay.
And what happens, to keep them happy, we got to keep them all mixed up. We've got to keep air to them. We have got to have food, and the food that they eat off of is the solids that comes in, that 1/10%.
Right.
And we have to waste. We waste between 2 and 5% per day. And that goes to our final process, and they dry it on the belt press.
All right, and that actually ends up getting used in some cases for fertilizer because it's organic. So there's a lot of an organic process happening here besides the recycling. And I really love the idea and that also takes away a lot of the smell from the organic process, right? These microorganisms are actually, as they're consuming, are also consuming a lot of the smell that you may have, correct?
Absolutely. They just keep feeding on themselves until we have a lot less to dispose of.
I see.
And we do dispose of that on farmers' fields.
Well, then we like our little bugs.
We do.
We got to have the little bugs. All right, so give me a little bit of idea. This looks like a big racetrack happening here. Now, what are these? It looks like agitators to me. Are they purposely doing that?
They're aerators.
Okay.
They keep all of the sewage mixed up, all the mixed liquor mixed up.
Okay.
They add air.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we control the DO. We want a DO to be somewhere around 3.5. We don't want it to be up to 5, and we don't want it to be lower.
Right.
It would turn septage on us at low DO.
All right. Now tell me a little bit about the maintenance here. Your aerators, for instance. This one that's not running, it looks almost brand new. Is that because you guys get to clean it or maintain it? I mean, how often do you maintain these areas? We
hose as often as we can. That's a big part of house cleaning.
I see.
We have taken every one of these brushes out of the ditches. We have white blasted them.
I see.
We have painted them with coal tar epoxy.
Okay.
We put new paddles on them.
I see.
When we set them back in there, we put new pillow blocks, new bearings, new seals and everything, new belts. When we walk away from it, we probably don't have to, other than the normal maintenance of greasing each week, we normally don't have to do much to them for 5 years.
Now, I can't help but notice, and this goes to the rate increase a little bit. The equipment now, so far as the first processes go, you got a couple of pumps involved, and those are never inexpensive. And you've always got to keep those maintained, because if they go down, that's an integral part of the process. You can't have those down for very long, correct?
Well, no, you can't have them down at all.
Oh, at all. So, but I haven't seen a whole lot of equipment yet, but now I'm seeing some extra equipment, and there's got to be motors and not necessarily a pump making these move. How expensive would one of those be, for instance? Let's just say the motor's turning these paddles.
It is a 40 horsepower motor, and as near as I can remember, it'll cost you about $2,500, $3,000 to have one of those rebuilt.
Rebuilt.
Okay. Yeah. To buy a new one, I'm guessing, and don't hold me to this, but I'm thinking $5,000–6,000 for a new one. Yes.
And from what I understand, though, well, I heard you say, kind of allude to, these are the original motors?
They're all original except for one on number 4 right here.
So you've been able to maintain these motors for 30-some odd years?
Absolutely.
And they still work as good as they do?
Yes.
That's incredible.
This plant is in very good shape.
And I'm guessing from other things that I've learned from water treatment and all the others, that's kind of extraordinary for a motor to last that long. They're not designed. Do you know what a lifetime is for a motor like that?
Well, I do know that a pump, the lifetime of a pump should be somewhere around 10 years.
10. So you've almost doubled up or tripled up the amount of time by maintaining and continually keeping maintenance and cleaning of the equipment.
Yes, and we've also went through every one of these motors that we have. If we have to have one rebuilt, we got to have someone else to rewind it.
I see.
But we have went into these motors. We have put new drive-in bearings. We put new tail-end bearings. There's a lot of stuff we can do right here in the house.
All right, let me ask you this. Now, I noticed this is a track, so to speak. It's going around and around and around. Is there a particular reason why that side's not working and this side is? Or is it that you switch up during the day?
These are all set up on timers.
Okay.
Okay. The reason that they're not running right now is because we keep this all in suspension, and if you run too many, your DO will go up.
I see.
We have a plant crew that checks the DO, and they make adjustments to run whatever needs to be ran here all the time.
So what I'm hearing, if you have too much dissolved oxygen, then you're actually starting to harm, perhaps, your microorganisms.
Well, you know, if you put oxygen into something that's going to want to float, you'll spill over your weirs, and it would be going into the river, and then you'd get a violation.
Now, I can't help but notice now, as opposed to what we saw because of the heavy flow of water, I'm noticing now larger stuff that people may be flushing or goes through, the dishwasher? When you think about all the equipment in your home that the raw sewage, what we call sewage, the wastewater goes through, we're talking garbage disposal, we're talking showers, bathrooms, sinks, anything where you wonder where that water's going is coming in here. And I see some of the solids now, some of the bigger pieces. For instance, let me ask you this.
That is grease.
Grease is what's floating on the top, kind of looks like an oily sheen.
Yes.
But I'm seeing paper, I'm seeing straws, I'm seeing all kinds of miscellaneous smaller chunks. What about cigarette butts? I know a lot of people that I see a crayon, and just take and chuck stuff into their toilet, for instance, to flush it. This is where it ends up, right in there?
That's correct.
And how does that get removed, though? And I'm talking man-made solids. I'm not talking, natural solids.
Right. At the head of our plant, we didn't talk about it. There's a bar rack there. And the bar rack has 1-inch spacing.
I see.
Okay. We go over there and manually clean that several times a day.
Okay.
And we get most of it out, and then that goes into a dumpster, and we haul that to the landfill.
Oh, very good. So let me ask you this then as well. I know that a lot of times we use our bathroom cleaners in our tubs. What about the chemicals that are used? For instance, there was an issue for a long time about people throwing pills and stuff into the water. And would it end up in here? Yes. All the chemicals, all the drugs, whatever it may be, they flush down the toilet or dispose into a sewer or whatever?
Yes, it will end up here, but when you are putting 2 little pills or whatever into 1.3 million gallons of water, it turns out to be nothing. Now, if you put 500 gallons of some kind of oil or grease or something like that in, that would upset our plant.
So that's the key to the dilution.
Yes.
Exactly. I get you now. So this is actually, again, I'm smelling absolutely nothing, but as I see things go floating by, how many routes does this thing take? I mean, if I were to go in and I were to pretend I was a piece of whatever going through here, how many times does this thing go through? How many times would I go around and around and around?
Several.
Several. All right, I'm guessing it's too many complicated questions. I just see it as a racetrack, and it continually. Now, is these solids going anywhere down as well? Are they sinking out?
Well, we try to keep them mixed up all the time.
Okay. And so that's the aeration. It's just continually turbulating itself, adding this oxygen to it, DO to it.
That's correct.
And this is the motor here that we're talking about?
This is the doghouse. Motor, gear reducer.
So that's the gear that's making the whole thing go. Gotcha. Very good.
The motor's turning about 1,350 revolutions per minute.
Really?
And that slows, the gearbox slows it down to about 66 revolutions per minute.
And you say that's 30 years old. That looks great for 30 years old. I'll tell you that much. I didn't even look that good at 30 years old.
Okay, now, that's the yard hydrant you're seeing there. We use our effluent water to hose and clean instead of using potable water after it has been treated.
So it's kind of like your recycled water. When we have the inflow coming in.
Yes.
So you're using that clean, well, semi-clean. It's not potable, it's not drinkable,
no.
But it's clear water, clean water that you're using, kind of recycle after you recycle through all that to help clean the plant as needed.
That's correct.
All right, so tell me a little bit about this. I mean, that looks like a real heck of a current going there.
Well,
does it get slowed down at all? I can see naturally.
Well, it will slow down. You can see it. But how we control how much we want to run our aerator brushes is by the DO in these ditches.
I see. How deep is that? 10
foot.
So that's 10 foot. Wow. All right, so we've gone through here, and it's gone through our clarifier. What is this? What is the name of this?
These are our oxidation ditches, biological process of the plant.
Oxidation ditches. Okay.
Now we are headed to the clarifier.
The clarifier. All right, let's go to the clarifier.
The water in the trough that you see is our effluent water.
The outside.
On the very outside.
Yep.
That water right down there, that is a finished process of this plant other than disinfection.
Gotcha. So you're recycling the water that's already been cleaned and processed, which is pretty clean. We're very clean actually compared to the rest.
You can take a glass of this and a glass of the water plant water, set them side by side, you can't tell the difference.
You wouldn't know the difference.
Okay,
before you go there, and I noticed that you do have a screen there, so this is after it's gone through the oxidation process. Anything larger now gets caught by these.
That's correct.
All right, very good. And I'm not going to go look and see what's in those screens, but it's the larger pieces that did not go through the whatever down there.
That's correct.
All right, so then where does it go?
Okay, so what happens here, the water comes into the center baffle right over here, and the water that I'm talking about is our mixed liquor.
All right, so what we saw earlier, that chocolate milk looking stuff.
That's correct.
All right.
It's coming right up through the center of this.
Gotcha.
Okay, it's got to go under the baffle right here to come out into here.
So you're forcing it down through.
We're forcing it down.
Gotcha.
Okay, clarifier is sedimentation and flotation. Okay, the solids settle to the bottom.
Okay.
Okay. And then the clear water comes right over here, and when it comes over, right there's your finished product.
I see.
Okay, inside this is where we pump we waste 2 to 5% per day.
We mentioned that, yes.
Okay. It settles in the bottom of this tank.
Okay.
This thing is always rotating.
Is it?
Yes. It pumps.
Oh, I see it now, the bar. It wasn't there a minute ago. So you've got this thing coming around all the time.
And it runs very slow. I mean, I don't know what the RPM of this is. But anyway, that water right there is either wasted, the solids are either wasted or returned back to the ditches.
I see. And so I can see now, and on TV you can see how it's gathering everything that's on top as well and pulling it around and around. Does it end up where these PVC pipe looking things are?
Walk right over here.
Let's go over there.
This right here is a scum beach. That scraper will come right around.
Right.
These little pieces of pipe actually traps it. It'll push the scum, the grease, the paper, whatever, right down through there.
So you're forcing it that way?
Yes.
All right, now I see it rotating. I never even noticed that thing was rotating before. It goes so slow you wouldn't really notice it. But what happens when that bar gets to over here?
Well, then the skimmer will pull the debris right up and drop it down that hole.
Okay. So you're just basically forcing everything into your next step in the process.
And then this grease, rag, little pieces of rags, whatever, will go into that pump station right there.
Okay.
And we'll come back to a screen that we have right over there that we clean like we do our bar racks.
Gotcha.
And that goes into the dumpster and goes to the landfill as well.
You know, so that ends up at the landfill. So all your real solids, that's where they end up at. And there's a special process, and we won't go into that today, but that has to be done with the, and there's a lot of testing.
Oh, absolutely.
We'll talk about that in a little bit. The DEP, Department of Environmental Protection, the EPA, there's a lot of regulations and certain criteria we have to meet on inspections every day, and you got to keep track, of course, through your reporting. But it's really important that, and you guys have always done a great job that I know of. I have never seen anything negative on our plant as far as any of the testing or any of the reporting that's ever been done.
Actually, DEP thinks pretty highly of us. We try to do a very good job, and
yep.
Sam Ludlow's actually made up some forms and stuff like that that they adopted into their system for other plants.
Again, folks at home, I'm not smelling a thing here. This is a fascinating process and how this works. And probably recognizable from satellites and stuff. This is what you always see first whenever you're looking down or on a water plant. You always see these round basins, which is really, again, a recycling tool going through and getting rid of all the solids. So that's fascinating right there.
Okay, this right here are splitter boxes.
All right.
And we have partial flumes in here.
Let's come up here so Dennis can see down onto it.
And this is not a flow measuring device.
Yeah.
This is actually so you can put the exact amount of water into each clarifier. You don't want a whole bunch more water going into one than the other.
Gotcha.
Because in your higher flows, that would make you spill solids. So you make them very equal, and then it does a lot better.
So what are these white things hanging down there? Is that going to throw out water?
Okay, yes it does. We can turn on that hydrant right there. That makes fan, and we get scum build up in here sometimes.
I see.
I mean, the scum will come right clear up on those little platforms.
Understood.
You turn on your water, it fans, and as that goes through there, it'll just break that scum right down. And
let me ask you this as well. Some of the microbiotic organisms that we were talking about, are they in here too as well? Are they in through all this whole process?
Absolutely.
So they're continuing to live in, cycling through, and that's what they do for a living.
Yes.
That's all they do.
They just run around our ditch.
So we're feeding them. Our citizens are feeding the microorganisms.
That's correct.
All right, we'll head over to where the sludge is produced then.
Very good.
All right, so now we've got everything coming from that end of the plant, from the clarifiers.
Correct.
And now what we're not seeing are the pipes and lines that are coming through here now to get to this part of the process, which is?
This is our decant tank.
Decant. Spell that for us.
D-E-C-A-N-T.
Decant, okay.
This is a decant tank. This is nothing more than a sludge thickener. When solids comes in, it is 0.1%. In our ditches, in our biological process, it is about 1% solid.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
Right.
When we bring it back to here and we want to waste it, we want to run it through our belt press, it's somewhere around 2%, and that can be a little less or more.
So we're getting almost to the end of the process now, because you've so much diluted it and you've got it to a point that you've got the solids and everything to where you want it. You're now pumped it into here.
That's correct.
Which is going to take us through the very last step afterwards, which is the belt press, which kind of takes the solids and something for us to use it with, correct?
That's correct.
All right, let's take a look at this now.
Now, I told you
go ahead.
that we waste about 2 to 5% per day.
Yes.
This is it.
This is it. This is the 2 to 3%. I can't help but see that this, it's not a building, it's a tank. It's in really good shape. Is it the 30 years old as well?
Yes, actually what we're going to do, we're planning a project right now. We're going to come in, we're going to chip out this right here. We'll reparch that this year.
So this is almost natural though. This is something that happens over time as it is with concrete and of course because concrete is somewhat, it's not so much solid, it is permeable in some aspects.
Okay.
And we're going to do this in-house as opposed to having it contracted out?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We do most of our work, and this is really important when we talk about our rate hike and stuff. A lot of the work that we do, we're saving a lot of money by doing the projects ourselves and having the capacity or the capability to be able to make the repairs on this, but I can't help but say that this really looks good. This is 30-odd years old as well?
Yeah, that is just a calcium bleed. The cement was put together right there, and they had a good bit of calcium, so it's just bleeding.
Gotcha. All right, let's head up the stairs. All right, so Buck, I'm looking here, and we're in the decant tank area, but I can't help but notice it's split into two different areas here. We have the chocolate milk, which is this, again, the liqueur or liquor?
Yes, mixed liquor.
The mixed liquor. And what do you call this side?
Well, this is the same thing. We are pulling sludge off of this right now. We're wasting our sludge. Here it's about 2% solids.
Okay.
Okay. We'll run this right here through our belt press, and we will make that 2% 20% dry, and then we will truck that to farmers' fields. We use this as like our biological process. We use this here for sedimentation.
Okay.
So the solids has settled to the bottom.
Right.
Now we will mix this as well as that, but right now we're letting all the solids settle to the bottom so we can decant. We can run the decant water off the top of this tank and head it back to the head of the plant.
So this is a part of the whole recycling system.
Yeah, it just keeps
all
going through.
Over and through and through. So I can't help but notice though that which comes in first? Is it this side or is it the chocolate milk side?
We pump it into here.
Everything that we talked about at the beginning
waste
comes
from
here. Comes through here. Okay.
And the reason that this doesn't look like that is because we got the blower shut off right now.
I see. All right. Oh, so this would look like that?
Oh yeah. This sludge right here it's done with its cycle. We are going to waste this. This will go to farmers' fields.
It's done. Yeah, as fertilizer, correct?
It is very high in nitrogen. It'll grow grass unbelievably.
Excellent. All right, well then let's head down where this is going next.
Yes,
to the
belt press.
To the belt press, which, ladies and gentlemen, for those at home, this is going to be one of the newest improvements to the facility that were made in-house, that were done. What was that, and we're talking about right over there, correct?
Yes.
What was that before, that building before?
That was just a 3-bay open shed.
Open shed. All right, let's go take a look at that then. All right, so Buck, now that we've come from the sludge tank.
Right.
And now,
thickener.
Yeah. and we're pumping it into this system. And again, here's another pump. But
that is our sludge pump.
That's a sludge pump. The solids are coming through here.
Yes, we can change the flow rate.
I see.
From 0 to 100%, and I don't know the actual gallons that it moves. Somewhere around 30,000 per cycle.
Okay. So when we talked about a minute ago the improvements that are done in-house as opposed to contracting out to build this particular belt press, somebody had to lay out the design because, like you said, this is really just a 3-bay shed for equipment.
Right.
But instead of spending, do you know how much a new belt press to have built if we didn't do it ourselves would cost? Roughly?
If you would do the building and everything, I'm thinking a couple million.
Couple of $1 million?
No, it would probably cost you $10 million.
To build the whole facility?
Belt.
Now because I'm assuming this brick wasn't here as far as...
That's right.
None of not brick, but it's block. And of course the pumps and all the lines are all done by us in-house, so all the electrical equipment.
Correct.
You didn't do the snake, but that's okay. That just freaked me out.
That's a pet.
That's a pet. All right, so it's coming in through this system being pumped, and it's coming through to this pump.
That's a booster pump. That just raises your water pressure.
Okay. We're moving on through all the water now. This is all the sludge, particulates, right? And we're talking about the solids that are left over you can't get rid of.
That's correct. And this right here is a polymer pump. Goes in right over there. You got to have all this room for mixture. Sludge pump, you mix polymer in with it, it flocculates it, and goes onto the press itself. Okay, so for all the citizens like me out there, what does flocculate mean? Okay, that just means you separate the solids from the water so the water can get away from
So we're making it a solid and getting rid of all the rest of the water.
Correct.
Kind of like squeezing out a sponge.
Exactly.
All right, that makes sense to me. See, that's the easy way to put it.
Control room.
This is the control room. And did you help put this in?
Yes, I did.
Yes, you did. There's one of your babies in it. This system right here, now, is this normal for what a drill press would have?
Yeah, for a belt press.
Or a belt press?
We bought the control panel, we bought the belt press, and we installed it.
And that, again, saved us a lot of money from our electricians having to do it. I know you have to be inspected and certified once you're done, but just to be able to install that, I know is quite a bit of money for you.
We do cement blocks. We do everything that happened in this building. We did it.
You did it
we
all
brought the gas in.
Yep.
We do everything.
All right, and I'll remind the citizens again, we haven't had a rate increase in over 20 some odd years. All right, now we're coming into the belt press, which to me is one of the most fascinating parts of the process, and I'm really proud of how you guys did this. Now, you couldn't have easily got this thing in here. What'd you do to have to get this press in here?
Well, we really worked at getting this in here. We brought it into this hole. We put pipe, come along, we pulled it in and we jacked it and we set it on the pillows that we set up right there, and then we started wiring, plumbing, doing all of that.
All right, and then of course underneath you've got, again, more lines going through because water's got to be going somewhere.
That's correct.
Tell us the process through this belt press then. How's that working?
Okay, come right up here. Okay, the solid comes in right here.
Yeah.
It's probably somewhere around 2%. It has already had the polymer mixed in with it.
All right.
And the polymer flocculates it and separates the solids from the water.
Gotcha.
It comes right down through here. You can see the water just running out of it.
Yeah, it's dripping out through. So now we're like the sponge, squeezing out all the water.
Okay, we're not squeezing yet, but it goes out there and then it comes back and it starts to squeeze.
That's the press.
After all of the water can just drain out free, this belt is open forward, so the water will just run right through it.
I see.
As it presses.
I noticed these white things in here that move. Are they done?
Those are plows.
Plows.
And the only thing that does is just moves it so it'll separate.
So it doesn't
like
stay
the water.
as a complete solid, it doesn't concrete, almost like turn to a concrete. So you're keeping it moving and cycling.
Yes.
Gotcha.
It just moves it around.
So it's coming in through here and then it goes to another level?
Yes.
The second level. And what is the second level?
Then it presses.
All right, so I'm seeing it here. So now this has gotten a lot drier than what we've seen at the beginning.
Until right here, that the water is just runs out of it, and right at this point it starts to press it and squeezes the water.
All right, so I'm noticing that, and you can see at the end of the line there, the water coming up, kind of being sucked up out through here, because now you're pressing two pieces of paper, kind of like what you would do when you make paper, to get all the water out to form a solid.
Yes.
Fascinating. All right, so then it's coming into here. Obviously, it's moving down the line here. Where is your solid ending? Because I'm not seeing where it's going now.
Okay, the solids are coming right through these rollers right here.
Okay, so it's coming down and around and then continuing that way. All right, so what I'm seeing is now this is the water that's dripping out, being separated, and this is the water flow you see down here.
Yes.
And it's getting pumped out back into the system?
Yes.
Absolutely, and again, recycling.
To plant drainage pump station number 1, and that pumps it right back to the head of the plant.
So this is, again, part of the whole recycling system. All right, so now I see where it got squished together by the two belts, and it's just continually being recycled through each one of these, each time being tighter and tighter and tighter?
Yes, it just keeps it squeezing.
Keeps it squeezing.
And that's what it looks like when it comes off the press. And then we have a screw auger that actually cuts it up more and drops it outside.
Which we got to thank Archimedes for, because without that, that's how we move the solids up, right?
That's right. That's exactly
I know a little science, folks. All right, so it gets dumped into here, and then the screw auger's taking it out.
Don't stick your head in there.
I'm not sticking it in there, but it smells like dirt.
Don't stick your head in there. You'll need a shower before we're done.
It smells like dirt.
Yes.
So it's so organic now to a point where any scent, anything's gone, and it's just really anything you could not dissolve down to be used out of there.
Exactly.
That amazes me though.
That is mainly old bugs that didn't get ate up. The volatile solids reduction is very good at this.
Really? That's fascinating. How much goes through here, do you know, in a day? How much solid do you end up with?
I think they pump somewhere around 30,000 gallons.
30,000. Wow, and I can see little pieces of solid stuff. I mean, that's not bugs, obviously, but that's anything that
little piece
solid that didn't get chopped up, taken care of anywhere else. This is the end product. This is where it ends up at.
This is the end product as far as the solids goes. Let me show you where it's dropping off of the screw.
All right, so it goes in through here, goes out through the wall. All right, so now that we've gone through, on the other side is the auger and the press we talked about. It's being pumped up into here. Everything you saw dropping off is this material.
Yes, that is correct.
Looks just like dirt.
Yes, it is probably...
Don't climb on the pile.
I'm going to guess that it's like 23-24% dry.
And then, how often do you clean this out?
Every day.
Every day.
Every day that it's ran, it'll be put into our storage beds right over here.
Because you could only let this get so high before you'd end up clogging up the whole thing and all of that anyway.
Exactly.
How long do you think, how long is this through the system? Is this so far 1 day's load or is this 2 days load?
Actually,
how many hours?
This is probably 2 days.
2 days.
Okay. They probably run the press 2 days to get this amount. Okay. Over here, we took our old vacuum assist dewatering beds, and we made sludge storage sheds out of them. Not only did we put this in, but we used what we had because we would have had to build them and
utilize it.
To pay $40,000-$60,000.
And the whole time it's continuing to dry.
Yes.
Continuing to dry while you're doing that, which makes it easier for the farmer to use. Now, is there any toxicity to this at all? I mean, I know you wouldn't want to go touching it, but it's really, there's nothing, it's really the organics that we talked about, the microorganisms.
Yes. Now this is a Class B sludge.
Okay.
Okay. Class B means that it can go on pasture land. You can use it for hay production. Now you cannot use this on a garden.
Okay.
Like to grow your vegetables. Now, we have such good sludge, we could probably convert to a Class A sludge pretty easily. Like we'd have to add lime to bring the temperature up for a certain amount of time, or we'd have to compost.
Okay, yeah.
But I mean, there's different things we could do with this, but actually the farmers loves it. And since we have made our storage sheds...
let's go over there. You can hold a lot in here. How many days? Maybe a month, month and a half of sludge? Well, that's a lot compared to that.
Okay.
2 months?
Right, this amount of sludge right here, I'm not sure how long it took them to get this, but in these 2 beds, we don't have to truck this out probably for 6 or 8 months.
6 or 8 months?
Yes.
Now, do we charge anybody, the farmers? Does the city recoup anything from using this?
No.
At all? We just kind of give it away gratis? Because what would we do with it anyway?
Well, what we would do to it if we didn't give it away is we would pay high dollar tipping fees at a landfill.
At a landfill.
So the farmers helps us bunches by saving us money.
And we're helping them as well.
Exactly.
Absolutely. That is fantastic. All right.
Does that sign mean anything in relation to the sludge?
No. That is just an old trailer we bought and put in there to keep...
Has nothing to do with that brown liquor?
We store our hay in there.
That's a relief.
So let me make sure we got the process right then, Buck. And we're pretty much at the end of the line for the process. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Now, I also want to take this opportunity, if you'll see, we have somebody with us. Get over here, Renata, because you're going to be showing up in the video. This is Renata De Gregorio with Channel 12. Channel 5, Channel 5, and we're going to be doing an interview, but we also, while we had Channel 3 here, we thought why not give the opportunity for Renata to see how this process works as well. She says she's never been at one before, and this is what happens every time you flush the toilet, or you wash your clothes, or you take a bath. This is where all this stuff goes. And I'm really proud of the fact of what the sanitary plant does. And Buck, now you can come on over here. And all the work that I think the citizens will see, a lot of the in-house work that we do. And here in a minute, we'll hit the other buildings so you can see where the equipment's maintained, because it's not just the process. We have to go out and we have to keep our lines clean. Mm-hmm. We have to replace lines whenever they go down. We also have to do a lot of testing and the maintenance of our equipment, which we have quite a bit of equipment. Again, a reason why we have to look at our increase of our rates. And we just can't live from 27 years ago rates. Everything has a higher cost anymore, and as you see, we continually are trying to upgrade. And so that way, as we grow as a city and the citizens can have a much better process, and we'll be prepared for anything that may happen, which could save us $30 to $40 million in the long run instead of building a whole new plant. So how about we go on, but if I'm not correct, is this is the end of the line for everything you see? This is the end of the line
for the solids disposal.
So everything you flush.
Now we also have 16 pump stations.
That's right. We can't go not talk about the pump stations.
Okay.
They're expensive.
And our last street pump stations, the pumps that we have in there, it's a duplex. Those pumps cost $30,000 a piece.
$30,000 a piece. And that's not including the building and the facility that they're housed in. So let's just kind of wrap it up for the citizens. So when do you go to the restroom, you take a shower, you do your laundry. It goes into your pipes at home, into the sewer system. The sewage system then gets pumped to different areas throughout town because there's different elevations and higher and lower.
Correct.
So each one of those pump stations you were just talking about contains a pump, which continues the flow going until it gets to the process where we started. And then you see how the recycling system goes through, and I'm not going to bore you all with it because you just saw it all. But then we end up coming into here. And that's how it works. It's really that simple. Am I correct?
That's correct.
It's not that simple, is it?
Well, it actually is pretty simple. The Buckhannon River does the exact same thing. It would just take too long for it to do it, and it would run our river.
And that's a good point, because here in a minute, we'll end up over at the other building, and you'll see what's going into the Buckhannon River. And I assure you that due to DEP and EPA concerns and issues, and they're getting stringent and more strict every year.
Yes, they are.
We have never had any citations, particularly on what is returned into the river. In fact, there's actually some good that goes back into the river, if I'm not mistaken, as far as oxygenation
to the river.
Oxygen and everything.
Absolutely.
For those. And that's one way that they monitor this plant, on making sure that we may not be contaminating, because that oxygen and any chemicals that go in the water are monitored as well. So we know if we're in any way harming the environment with the outflow from the plant. Correct?
That's correct.
You'd think I may need a job here one of these days. All right, let's head over to the other building. All right, well, if I'm not mistaken, Buck, we're at the emergency effluent pump station.
That's correct.
Yeah, see, I remembered that.
Yeah, good.
All right, but we have here 3 more pumps, and we've taken the water from the system over the effluents,
yes,
or what we call it.
Yes.
It's coming into here now.
Effluent of the plant.
And this pump is actually pumping what?
Okay, the only time this right here will run, Mayor, is when our river elevation gets up to where we can't gravity it into the river.
Okay.
This is an emergency pump station that will lift the water and pump it into the river.
I see. These look like newer pumps, am I correct?
Yes, we just done an upgrade in the fall.
In the fall, and on average, you know what the cost of one of these pumps is? If they're anything like the water plant, we're looking at 20 to 30?
I think 14,000 a piece,
14 a piece? Okay, that's right, because that's how many they had to have, so yes, okay, I'm with you on that. And how much water will these pump?
2 of these pumps together will pump 5 million gallons per day.
5 million gallons a day. That is an incredible amount of water. And when you think of millions of gallons, it blows my mind. So, okay, so we have this water now coming through here, and I see it exiting out. Where's that going?
That is going to the Buckhannon River.
How deep is this pit?
From the water level down, it's 4 feet.
4 feet?
Yeah, 5 feet maybe.
And then you've got another 12,
yes,
15 feet, I would say, yes. All right, so now it's going to the river. Let's go take a look and see where that goes then. So Buck, everything we saw coming out of that pit is now cycling its way through here, am I correct?
That is correct.
And I noticed it's almost got a natural waterfall. Is that
yes.
a particular reason for that?
Yeah, we made that on purpose. This is to add DO to the water as it's entering the Buckhannon River.
How much how many gallons are we adding a day or an hour to the Buckhannon River in water? In effluent?
Well, probably 1.3, 1.4 million a day.
So
And
we're
now
actually
we
doing
did
good.
skip one process. We also have a disinfection. And at this plant, we use ultraviolet disinfection.
I see.
And what ultraviolet does versus chlorine will kill. Ultraviolet, it works on the DNA and stops reproduction of the bacteria.
I see.
So you stop the reproduction, they just die off.
That's it. And of course you've taken care of a lot of that anyway already, so this is not potable water, but it's within the requirements to maintain and continue the integrity of our river and the water that's already coming through.
That is correct.
Folks, we're pretty much at the end of the cycle. This is it. All your water that you have done today in your bathroom or in your sinks or in your laundry room has finally come out here. Let me ask you this water we're looking at, how long did it go through your plant, you think?
If we get 1.4 million gallons in per day, we exit 1.4 million gallons.
No, I mean, how long do you think the cycle? The cycle?
We have a 30 to a 60-day sludge age, but exactly how long that water was in the plant, I do not know.
You're easily looking at, this wasn't today's water. This is water that was about weeks, months, maybe a month or so ago.
Maybe.
Started out in the bathroom, so this is finally what the end product is.
That's correct.
That's the time consumption that it takes to do that. Buck, it's been fascinating. I want to end this interview here, or this video here, at the Buckhannon River. Beautiful spot. We're also proud of. I know people that come fishing here a lot. In fact, from what I understand, it's one of the better places because of the oxygen that's being fed through here, and of course the slowness of this river. For everyone that also knows the Buckhannon River, it's headed towards Philippine from here. That's the way it flows, and actually, by its own biological process from the river, anything that may, anything that you may be concerned with or whatever that we haven't taken out, the river and biology is going to take care of it itself. So
absolutely.
Buck, we appreciate your time today to send us through this whole process. I know the citizens learned a lot today. I again learned a lot today. The things that our plant does and why our our sewage rate increase is so important is that we can continue to maintain and grow and make sure that our plant is always sufficient, and not just sufficient, but always improving and the most excellent it can be for our citizens, the citizens of the city of Buckhannon, and surrounding the whole county, because it's just not the city of Buckhannon that gets all their stuff into here. It's all of the county who doesn't already have a septic tank of their own.
We have about 3,700 customers. 3,000 of them being Buckhannon, and probably about 700 being a PSD, which is Tennerton.
Right.
Coming to this plant.
Yeah, we can't forget the PSDs, and they play another part, and that's a whole nother video on how that works and all of that. Buck, thank you so much for giving us your time today. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this with Channel 3. I want to thank Channel 3 for being here with Dennis again today, and Renata for joining us through our process. I hope you learned something, and stay tuned. We'll start learning more about other departments within our city as well. You have a great day, and thanks for being with us. Bye-bye.